Do you know what the most abundant element in the universe is? We'll give you a hint. The answer's right over my shoulder. It's hydrogen. It makes up 3/4 of the entire mass of the universe. That's fair to say there's a lot of it. It makes sense then that we should consider it as a fuel source for our vehicles. Yet not every automaker is doing that. A few are though. Case in point, this is the Toyota Mirai, and it's the first fuel cell powered vehicle that you can purchase and own for yourself. Now, other automakers have produced fuel cell vehicles, but those have always been leased machines that wind up being company property. There's the Mercedes F-Cell, there's the Hyundai Tucson fuel cell vehicle, there's the Honda Clarity. This is the one that you can buy, spend around $60,000, and you can put this in your garage, and you own it, it's yours. And it's interesting looking. It's basically like a Toyota Prius went to West Coast Customs and got a neat looking body kit. It's not easy on the eyes, it's kind of ugly. But it's also kind of futuristic, and that works in its favor. You've got 215 series Michelin primacies that you'd expect to find on something like this. Up front, you've got a big, low alien grille with some daytime running lights. You've got these big lighting elements here. So there are elements of it that look futuristic, but overall, it's kind of ugly. So how does this all work? It's basically like a giant EV, but we're not recharging everything with electricity. We're using hydrogen to fuel this car. That hydrogen is stored in 2 carbon fiber high pressure fuel tanks, and you make up the fuel cell stacks. It feeds an AC synchronous electric motor, and it's good for just over 150 horsepower and just under 250 pound-feet of torque, and it sends power to the front wheels by way of a single speed transmission. So you've driven your Mirai around and the fuel gauge is reading a little bit low. That means you're gonna have to find a hydrogen filling station. You would think it would be easy. Here in Southern California, it actually is decently easy. We have around 20 stations, I believe, in California. Nationally though, 31 total. That's it. They cost around $1 million to $2 million to build. That's before you get into the potential zoning issues, before you're even allowed to apply for the permit. So don't expect the infrastructure to catch up anytime soon. So if you really want this technology in your garage, you should probably move to Southern California. And then you come to this and you see H35 and H70. This isn't 93, 87 octane. These are different pressure levels. This is 350 bar, this is 700 bar. They're different pressure levels. To get the hydrogen into the tanks, we're talking about 10,000 PSI of pressure. That's a little bit more than you're used to with your old fuel pump. These connectors are aircraft grade connections to ensure that you don't blow stuff apart, not with the hydrogen, but based on the pressure that the hydrogen is being pushed into the car. So this is different. So if you like the Mirai, you've already made the compromise that you're going to live with the lack of fueling stations. Another compromise is the fact that this is not a 5-seater, it's a 4-seater. Now, legroom is decent for how tight this car is, and this seat is set for me, who is 6'3", and I can still fit back here because of the scallop cutouts of the seat. It's not super comfortable, but the seat itself isn't bad, and it's heated back here, which is kind of nice. Headroom is a bit of an issue. If you're taller than me, you've got no chance, but it's not a terrible place to sit. Just remember, 4 seats, not 5 seats. So sitting in the front seat, where you're actually going to drive the car, the Mirai is actually kind of interesting. It's almost like a Prius concept vehicle. And that's kind of cool. The stark, glossy black finish against the matte finish, this not quite carbon fiber, but almost digital looking trim pieces are kind of neat. There's still some familiar Toyota buttons and stuff like that, but they're pushed just a little bit forward into the future, which makes sense for a vehicle like this. Now, most important though, for someone like me, is how it's gonna drive, because electric vehicles, which as much as I hate to say it, I don't really hate to say it, but they are the way of the future. We are going to move to electric vehicles, and I'm a gas-burning, tire-spinning jerk, but I still know that EVs are the way of the future, and the current crop of EVs are pretty good. Plus, all of that torque from down low is pretty exciting. So does that translate to fuel cell driving? So first impressions right off the bat. It's like a hybrid EV deal going on here. You've got that whir and that whine that you've come to expect from some EVs. Now, the steering is typical numbness, electronically boosted power steering. It snaps back to on center in this weird manner, but I'm not expecting a Lotus here. So it's fine for the application. You're only dealing with those 215 series Michelin Primacies anyways, which are for EVs and electric vehicles. Now, the brakes are very much familiar regen brakes. When you push on those, the initial press, there's not a lot of braking there. You have to really press through that to get to the actual braking, because that initial braking is kicking energy back into the system. Visibility is great. This is a huge forward windshield. Even with modern, fatter A-pillars, you've got great forward visibility. These side windows extend a long way too, so you've got great visibility there as well. That's an unexpected benefit. The rear window is a little bit small, but not any smaller than any modern sedan you might find in this class, so that's pretty nice. Now, the center stack sits up nice and high, so you can easily read what's going on here, so I can see my Pearl Jam radio and my map, which I'm going to have to use to find other filling stations eventually. The range on this, from a dead stop with a full tank, is somewhere between 250 and 270 miles. That's fine, that's nothing crazy. That's better than most EVs out there. That's on par with some gas-burning vehicles. You know, modern cars these days are getting better and better range, especially the diesels, which those are dying off. But the range isn't what sells you on this, it's the endless supply of fuel and, you know, how little you need to fill the car up and those sorts of things. So this is a diversion from the green path, and it's an interesting one. I'm just not sure it's ready for consumer consumption just yet. I say that because there's only 31 places to fill this up across the country. There's a supercharger network out there for electric vehicles that can let you run across the country carefree, nearly carefree at this point. Here, you still have some genuine range anxiety concerns unless you just stick around Southern California or wherever one of those other stations is located. So what we have here is basically a more futuristic, more expensive Prius that's from the near future. And that's fine, and it's mildly interesting. It drives like a Prius. 0 to 60 takes you around 9.5 seconds. The top speed is 108 miles an hour, limited by drag. You get up to a point in the aerodynamics just go, nope, we're done. So if you're interested in different fuel technologies that are out there, this car would be very interesting to you. If you're just looking for a commuter that you don't want to hurt the earth because the emissions here is water, there are better EV offerings out there for less money. Now you can get the tax credits on this, but still, some of the, like the Fiat 500e, if you just want something that is affordable and runs on electricity and batteries and electric motors, the Fiat 500e all day long. The Volkswagen e-Golf is a great alternative. I don't know, I'm just not seeing the draw here until we get a better infrastructure. Right now, fuel cell vehicles are extremely infrastructure limited, and I don't see that changing that soon.